Good evening and welcome to Open Your Mind Internet Radio. You have myself, Alan James.
And you have myself, Stephen George. A very good evening.
Good evening. It's Sunday the 29th of December 2012. We're nearly into 2014. Just a couple of days left to go. Good evening and welcome. This is going to be kind of an impromptu night. We don't have any guests on tonight. We're just going to have a quick chat about things that happened during the week and do a kind of an annual review of the shows that we did over the year. Just have a kind of laid back night tonight, I think. We're not going to be doing anything too major, but there's a couple of things of interest that we'll be talking about. Now, it's going to be an open mic night, which I'll let Steve talk about. But before we go off to Steve, poor Steve has tonsillitis, so he's not feeling too well. So he might have a real husky, sexy voice. You might hear him talking on the mic there. But I'll pass it over to you, Steve, and you can tell us all about the communications and how people can come in and chat to us.
Okay. Well, before I we'll just go to Mary. Mary, go ahead.
The communication channels are email info@oymireland.com, by phone 046 927 1212, and you can also contact us direct through the OYM chat room.
Thanks very much, Mary. Yes, 046 927 1212. If you fancy ringing in, if you want to ring in from outside the Republic of Ireland, it's 00353 469 271212. And I think Alan gave out the Skype address last week. And of course, I cannot remember. What's the Skype address again? Is it OYM.Ireland?
OYM.Ireland.
OYM.Ireland. Actually, I can remember. There we go. Yeah, a bit of a tonsillitis and a sore throat going on, but the show must go on. The show must go on. So I've dosed myself up with lozenges and all sorts of mad concoctions and potions. So once I don't pop me clogs on air, that's all that matters.
I think that's the main thing. Now, as I say, we have no guest on tonight. Tonight is just kind of a informal, impromptu night, talking about a few bits and pieces that went on. But we'd just like to say, before we get into things, a big thank you to we had a pleasant surprise from one of the listeners who, let's just say, had a few beers and a donation for OYM they gave to us directly. And they said they really liked the show, and they were just kind of little happy Christmas present to OYM. So thanks to the listener who did that. We won't mention your name, but thanks to the listener who did that. And also, we had another listener phone in just before the show as well, and just saying Happy Christmas and how they listen to the show, they love the show. So thanks a lot. You know, it's really, really nice when you get feedback from listeners, whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. Feedback is feedback, and if there's anything that obviously, you know, they're not happy with, we're more than happy to speak to them. And if we can improve things, obviously we will do our best to do that. But it's just nice to get the feedback and know there's people out there supporting us and enjoy what we do. So really nice.
Absolutely, I mean, we love getting the feedback, and I know, as Alan said, whether it's good or bad, just reflecting over the past 12 months, I think the only bad feedback, and it wasn't even bad feedback, I think it was someone in the US of A said that they didn't like the little bit of banter that we had at the beginning of the show. They thought it detracted from it, but I think we threw that out there at one point in time, and everyone seemed to enjoy the little bit of banter and the little bit of, you know, a laugh and a joke. So we kept it in. So that, you know, one person didn't like that, and I think the only other criticism that we received over the past 12 months, or possibly even over the past 3 years, was, I think at one point in time our choice of music didn't go down too well with one or two individuals. But look, as Alan has said on previous occasions, we're talk radio. We're not a music show, so it's a case of just grab a song when we're letting the guests go. We'll grab an old record and throw it on. Doesn't matter what it is. You're just lucky it hasn't been Val Dunican, but that's not to say it won't be Val Dunican at some point in time.
Oh, we can arrange that, all right. Okay, before we crack on with things, I'd just like to make an announcement. There was a lady who ran a radio show over in the UK, and I think we were actually on it at one time, down south of the UK, and her name was Judith Hitchin. Well, we got a bit of bad news from Rick from IC Radio Networks over in the UK that, and he said to us here, he sent us an email, and he just said, it is my sad duty to tell you that Judith died 2 days ago in the Royal London Hospital with her mother by her side. Those of us who knew Judith knew her as a tireless fighter for the cause of a free England, free from the European Union. Judith has been ill for the last few years. but in spite of her health problems, she continued with her research and organising meetings. He spoke to Judith on the phone a week ago, and in spite of sounding extremely ill, she was talking about the situation this kingdom finds itself in, the UK. When he spoke to a nurse at the hospital, she told me Judith was unconscious, a state from which she never recovered. Judith will have a natural funeral. As soon as I have more information, I will let you have it. I would ask for your prayers for Judith and her family at this sad time, and let us up the game to give Judith her dream of a European Union Tree of England. And that's actually from Albert George. He wrote that. So, condolences to Judith's family in the UK, and she was a fighter, and I said she had her own radio show as well. Runnymede Radio, I think, was the name of the radio show.
That sounds familiar.
And I'd just like to say a big thank you for Judith for all the hard work that she did in the alternative media and getting the message out there. So she'll be sadly missed. But there you go. So that's a bit of bad news. But otherwise, there's just a few things that we can touch base on. And one of the things is, man, the weather during the week. Pretty bad weather, Steve.
Oh, the weather outside is
terrible.
Yeah, it's kind of as they often say on TV weather forecast. It's a bit of a mixed bag, really. And the weather the past couple of days, I think we've had everything. We've definitely had some sunshine in the morning. We've had icy roads, bad driving conditions, and we've had a couple of snow showers as well. I think the only thing we haven't had is hail. But, I suppose that'll be on the way too. I was actually in my mother-in-law's this evening, and they were watching the weather forecast, and from what I could see on the weather forecast, it's going to be bad. It's going to be like more of the same for the next couple of days. One thing that we did know was, I don't know, it was the national state broadcaster, RTE. They were watching that news, and I don't know if you happen to see it. I'm guessing you may not have.
No.
But they had the news for the deaf, which is, if anyone hasn't seen it, it's comical. They have the script going up one side of the screen, and they have someone doing sign language and making faces on the other side. And I never even noticed that. Only my daughter said this evening, "Daddy, why is that person doing the sign language making funny faces?" And maybe it's a sign language thing. I don't know. But so we had the news and then the weather forecast for the deaf, and then immediately after that they had the weather forecast for the people who had no problem with their hearing. So they gave out the weather, spoken with sign language and a big description as well. And then immediately after that, another girl came on and she gave the same weather forecast. So we got the weather forecast twice. Anyway,
what a complete waste of resources.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so it's going to be bad over here again for the next few days. I think they're predicting more snow, so we've got to look forward to.
Okay, well, tonight, they said that tonight, now it shouldn't last too long, but it was really, really bad during the week. I'm sure you've all seen it. There was flying wheelie bins everywhere and trees down and, branches. There was kind of, if you take the back roads, if you take a country road and you take in a back road, there's like dodgems with everything, all the kind of debris that's on the ground, on the road. But, so we're going to have it again tonight, and we're going to have it during the week. And they're kind of calling it a Frankenstorm. Now, whether this is HARP or whether it's not HARP, I don't know. It's people are talking about it being generated by HARP, but we just don't know. So we just have to play it by ear.
And what about all the poor children who got bicycles for Christmas? They can't even go out on them.
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, but so batten down the hatches again. We had the water. Our water was out for a few hours. I don't know about you, Steve. Because the power kept going up and down, it actually affected the water station. Oh,
it would do, yeah, because I'm guessing because you're on kind of elevated ground that it would be pumped up.
Yeah,
it?
And there was an airlock in the system. So, but the county council were quite quick, and they cleared the airlock, and the water was back up and running. Although a neighbour did say to me when you did turn it up and it started kind of coughing and spluttering, all white stuff was coming out, which is not pretty good,
No. I wonder what that was.
Yeah, I don't know. Benefits of having a filter, I think. Right, okay. But the weather was pretty bad anyway, so again, watch out this week. Just be careful where you're going, and if you don't have to go anywhere, don't go, because it could be dangerous, especially in the country with like trees and branches and all that kind of stuff flying about. So take it easy. Now, we got an email in from John Weagle. John Weagle was on our show, and he's a tireless campaigner regarding smart meters and fluoride and Wi-Fi and all that kind of stuff. And he just mentioned to us about the increase in cancers since the 1990s and the introduction of wireless technology. The fluoride rate was still constant regarding cancers, but the introduction of wireless technology. Now, if you kind of put two and two together, if the government know about the fluoride and the wireless technologies and the effect it's causing on people, wouldn't it make sense for them to be taking medical cards off people so the system wouldn't have to pay for it? What a coincidence that all of a sudden there's health cutbacks and they're taking the cards off people and there's an increase in cancers.
I'm not surprised.
You know?
I'm not surprised. I mean, look, that's what our government is all about. I actually had this a similar conversation only this evening, or this afternoon with my daughter. She was wondering if Wi-Fi is so bad, just in relation to the Wi-Fi. How come all our friends have it and we don't? I said, well, we don't have it because I know it's bad. Yeah, but if you know it's bad, sure, everybody must know it's bad. And I said to her, well, some people aren't. It's not that they're not educated or they're stupid. I'm not saying anyone is stupid, but I said they just, when they're presented with the evidence, they don't want to look at it. Said, and that's it. And I said, look, it's the same in relation to the water. I said, we fluoride in the water, and we all know that's bad. Our government knows it's bad. Yeah, but why don't they take it out, she said. And I said, well, because if they took it out, then questions will be raised, why was it taken out? And if they then go, well, because of this evidence here, and if they start saying, showing evidence, and that's why they remove it, then people who are looking at the evidence will go, hang on a second, osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, reduced or increased thyroid function, blah, blah, blah. And then people will start kind of going, hang on a second, let me speak to my solicitor. And then they start suing the state. And I said, the last thing they want is to have that. But I mean, yeah, medical cards, so I think they have taken them off a lot of people.
They have, yeah.
And I mean, a lot of people, from what we've heard too, people who really need them. I mean, you know as well as I do. There are people who, and this is not meant to be bad in any way, shape, or form, but it's just this, the current climate that we live in. But there are a lot of people who, the mother in the relationship would probably have a couple of children, and then she wouldn't be. She claimed that she's unmarried, and her partner's not living with her, so she'd probably be entitled to a medical card to cover herself and the children. But lo and behold, the father is living with them, and they don't get married, and they don't claim that he's there because they lose all these benefits. But there are people that do that, and they're kind of screwing the system. Now, that's not, it's not their fault. If the system was built properly, then this wouldn't happen. But people are screwing the system. And then you have people who really need it. I mean, there's people out there with cancer. There's a girl I work with, and I know her father. He has I can't think of the name of the condition. It's to do with the heart, and it's something about the oxygen rate in the heart. And he's on medication. I think he spends nearly probably 50, 60 euro per month on medication. He's had his card removed. He's not working. He can't work. I think the man is tipping 60, and because of this condition, he's unable to work. And we've heard of other people too with cancer, people who are having chemotherapy. Their cards have been removed as well.
It's madness. It really is madness the way things are going at the moment. And John said that sufferers of motor neuron disease and those in the early stages of cancer are to be denied medical cards. It's just getting ridiculous, and through no fault of their own, just the fault of the system and how the system's working. It's just getting worse. So
Well, I'm sorry. Someone that has, I mean, when you mentioned motor neuron disease, I actually used to look after a guy many moons ago who had motor neuron disease, and I seen this guy. He was in a wheelchair when I started looking after him. Then again, he was in a wheelchair when I finished looking after him too. But his speech kind of went from a slur. Someone who's drunk, and they're slurred in their speech. It went from that to barely a whisper, and you couldn't hear the man. And he had his wits about him, but he was just in a wheelchair and he couldn't move. And most of he spent a lot of time crying because of this condition that he had through no fault of his own. Well, he was lucky because he had a medical card and he was in a care institution that obviously cared for his every need, and that was fine. But people like him who find themselves without these care facilities, or maybe that their families can't afford to pay the bill because medical cards are going to be taken away, it's a fate worse than death. It's a slow road to death. That's what it is, really.
Well, if the politicians are not prepared to put the money where the mouth is, and they suffer the same as the people who are suffering, well then that shouldn't happen. You know, I am a believer of lead by example. Like any manager who's managing staff, you lead by example. You don't have the attitude, do as I say, not as I do. So if the politicians are going to represent the people, then they should be prepared to suffer like the people. Simple as that, or else change the system so we all benefit from the system.
Well, sure, look, Enda Kenny has come out and said, hasn't he, that he knows what the people are going through.
Oh, of course he does.
He hasn't a bloody clue.
Yeah, of course he does, yeah. And when he gets his job in Europe, then that's him. He'll be off and gone. Yeah, I mean, apparently, I've seen this on Facebook, and apparently they're setting up a counselling service for the politicians because the amount of abuse they're getting from the general public.
Are you serious?
Would you believe that?
Are you serious?
No, I'm serious, yeah, I'm serious. I'm serious.
Flip's sake.
That the TDs are getting so much abuse from I wonder why they're getting abuse. They're getting so much abuse from the general public that they're setting up a counselling service, or at least they're talking about setting up a counselling service for the TDs. Yeah, right. Okay.
What's that stuff they wanted to put into the water there a couple of months back, or a year or so back? Remember they were talking about because you were saying people were... we all know it was obviously to do with all the banks and all this, the austerity and the banks and the repossessions, but you're saying because people were committing suicide and there were certain high rates of suicide in certain areas, they wanted to put some drug into the water, and I can't remember what it was.
I know what you're talking about, but I don't have a name for it.
Well, maybe, I suppose, that'll be next now, because if the politicians are getting a hard time from the people, they'll probably introduce a bill or something whereby they'll put some happy pills into the water, for all of us, to make us all happy.
Probably something like that. But, if they're going to charge us again, the Ming Flanagan video, I don't know whether people seen it in the Dáil, where Ming Flanagan challenged the Minister for Health, I believe, in the Dáil, or one of the ministers anyway, and had a sample of water. I won't mention what he said, but he did kind of a course in the Dáil, which apparently is allowed. And, they want to charge us for water that has poison in it. So what we have to do is say to them, at the end of the day, if you're going to give us a service, if you're going to supply us with something and you want us to pay for it, then you better give us the water that we want without poison in it. I mean, if you go to a delicatessen and ask for a chicken salad sandwich, they don't go ahead and put mayonnaise and tomato ketchup on it, and you go, hang on a minute, I don't want that on it, and they say, I'm sorry, but you're going to have it on a tough. I mean, you just walk out of the shop and go to somewhere else. So, if we're going to be paying for water meters, then they give us the water we want, otherwise we don't pay for them. It's as simple as that, and that's exactly what Ming Flanagan said in the Dáil. There was a bit of a kind of Erin Brockovich moment where he gave the TD, he walked across the Dáil, did you see it?
I did, yeah.
And he gave him the sample of the water, and I thought that was a very Erin Brockovich type of thing.
Yeah.
Here you go, try that water there.
And he challenged your man to drink the water.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the word that he used when he cursed in the Dáil, it was PISS, and he said he wasn't sure if he was allowed to use that word, but he had checked, and seemingly if he was using it in the context in which he used it, then it was perfectly acceptable.
Yeah.
Well, I believe he got reprimanded. I didn't hear exactly what happened, but I did hear that he got reprimanded for his little outburst.
But isn't it great to see, I know they're independent TDs, but isn't it great to see they're actually challenging the government and things like that are happening with the independents? Because go back 5-10 years, that wouldn't have happened. You wouldn't see that in the Dáil. But now you begin to see the government being attacked by all sides. And that's what we want. That's what we have to do, is keep on attacking the government and attacking the TDs until they get it, until they wake up and realise the state of Ireland and what's going on. But anyway,
I think they know what's going on.
They do know what's going on.
Aware. And I think, as a mate, I've said, now we don't condone violence in any way, shape or form here. Like, it's just kind of me and Alan talking, and that's it. Our opinions are our own, and not those of OYM. But, I mean, attacking them verbally, it's a waste of time. It really is. I think, personally speaking, do you remember a couple of years ago? there was something going on in the Dáil. Was it the Dáil or Leinster House? I can't remember. And a truck driver, he was so outraged that he
That's
actually,
right. Yeah.
he stormed the gates and he crashed his truck into the gates. And that was a man standing up and he's making his protest. He wasn't standing outside waving a placard, or he wasn't sitting at home being a keyboard warrior. He made a stand. I hope it was his own truck actually now, but I think that's what we need. We actually would need. When you read history books and you hear, oh, back in 1916 there was something happened in 1916, and a group of people or a battalion of a regiment or an army or something went into a Dáil and dragged all the occupants out and asked them to put their affairs in order, or something bad would happen. I think that's what we need. We need some of that rebellion that was around, not even in our father's time, but probably our grandfather's time. Because I think it's been lost. It really it has been lost.
We have to storm the Bastille, but even in the early 1900s during the Rising, there was still only 1% that made the difference.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe it's the 1% that's going to make the difference again. I don't know.
Who are the 1%? I mean, we keep getting told we are the 1%.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
But, I don't know.
Jim UK on the chat facility there said that if the war today are supplying you with is water with added chemicals, you are not obliged to pay for it. Well, that's good, but the threat is from the government is that they can't stop giving you the water, but they can reduce the pressure enough so the likes of your dishwasher or your washing machine, your shower, etc., doesn't work. Or doesn't work well, if any. So
yeah, I mean, if they start reducing the pressure on our water, so it doesn't work that well, then maybe we might have to go with a hammer and reduce their water meter to something that doesn't work either. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, well, we'll be looking at probably things like that anyway and talking about it. But how's your week, Steve?
My week has been filled with sickness. There we go. Now we've all been sick at home. As regards, OYM and the fight that we're all fighting, I've kind of taken myself off the fast track. I haven't actually switched my computer on in about 4 days. That's I just wanted to kind of take a break and step away, enjoy the time that I have off until we're back next Thursday to the grindstone, Norwich to the grindstone again. So I just kind of switched off and spent some time with the family, ate some sweets, ate some more sweets, and I just kept eating. And I have to admit, but there's a couple of beers at home in the fridge that I had in for my father-in-law. My father-in-law was around me Christmas Day. I'm my mother-in-law, but my father-in-law, he likes an old can. So I had a couple of cans in. He wasn't in the mood Christmas Day, and it was 6 cans of Guinness. And believe it or believe it not, they're still there. I haven't even had a drink. Is that terrible?
Well, can I add to that? Either have I.
We're boring sons of
I know.
so-and-sos, aren't we?
I haven't had one drink over the Christmas period, but it doesn't bother me. It just it just. I'm not kind of going. I have to have a drink. It doesn't. Yeah. They say, well, it's Christmas. Yeah, I know, but it still doesn't bother me.
Yeah. No, same with me. It's Christmas, and I mean, if someone had given me one and said, here, have that, I probably would have maybe taken it, but maybe I'm just too lazy to walk to the fridge. Yeah, that's what it is. I've eaten too many sweets. I'm too lazy to walk to the fridge.
You know that Australian ad where the guys are sitting and they have a robot getting the drink from the fridge and bring. That's what you need. You need to get one of them.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try. I'll have to train the kids to use the bottle opener. But no, I've as regards my week. Yeah, I've been away from it all. It's been really 100% family time. I've been focusing on the family and realising how much I can't stand being around them. No, that's terrible. I shouldn't say that. No, I enjoy being around them, but it's just amazing. Like when you're in work and you come home from work and you have your little heir to the throne, if you like, and he's 7 years of age, and he's like, I know people say you learn by asking questions, but Jesus Christ, this young fella, he should be a genius by now because he never stops. I mean, I love him to bits and all that, but he never stops asking questions, and I sincerely hope he's not listening tonight. But
it's the why question. Why?
Yeah.
And then you answer and you go, why?
Yeah. And that's it. Why? But why? But why? Because it is. Yeah, I know, but why is it? You go, oh, Jesus, please. And then, I used to wonder why I come home from work, and if I was going to do something of an evening or, even on the weekend, why my wife would say, here, take him with you. And I used to think it was kind of sort of the father and son bonding until, she said to me, he just never stops asking questions.
Well, that's good in itself.
Come here, but I can't think of one off the top of my head, but Jesus Christ, he asked me some question there last weekend, he asked me some question, and I was left with my mouth open thinking, I wouldn't even know how to answer the question. I don't even know if I understand the question, but he was looking there, as if I've just asked a question, I'm waiting for an answer. Anyway, yeah, so that's it. Anyway, we're back on track anyway. As of from today, I've been, there's a few things that Alan was telling me when I came up this evening that I wasn't aware of, so we've been kind of catching up on a few things. And I'd see Karen's on the chat there as well, and Jim and Snowy and the rest. And I want to say a big hello to all of you, and especially to Karen. Karen is a long-time supporter of us here at OYM, and we're supporters of Karen's work as well, and that's KSQT on the chat if you want to give her a wave. Anyone who doesn't know, that's Don't Buy, Don't Comply, Ask Why, and it's Karen from UnitedWeStrike.com, and we think we'd probably have another marathon coming up.
About 2 weeks' time.
About 2 weeks' time, yeah. But yeah, anyway, there's my week in a nutshell. How was your week?
My week.
Yeah, I'm sitting back now. I'm sitting back in the chair. The feet are going up. I'm waiting for this one.
Are you ready for my week?
I tell you, everyone, just sit quietly because this is going to be a good one.
This is going to be educational. It was definitely emotional, but definitely educational. Okay, well, the Don't Buy, Don't Comply, Ask Why motto is going to be very, very appropriate in this case. And Karen's probably listening in. And, we talk about going to the mum and pop stores and buying our goods off them, because when you're dealing with corporate companies, they just don't give a monkeys, okay? They just don't give a damn. And point in question, I suppose is the best way to do it, is that myself and my partner got some vouchers over Christmas, and you had to spend them in certain shops, restricted shops. There's only a limited amount of shops that you can use these vouchers in. So we said, okay, let's go to, let's treat ourselves, because we very rarely go off and treat ourselves. So my partner wanted to buy one of these kind of cheapy tablet things that you can get. And we went into DID Electrical, was one of these shops. Now, I won't say what branch it was, but it was DID Electrical. And we had a look. They had a good range of these tablets. So now, the general attitude, by the way, in Ireland, is a lot of people are kind of, sure, what can you do? Well, I'm going to explain to you what you can do and the benefits of doing something about it. So we went around anyway, and we found one of the tablets, and we said, oh yeah, that's nice and cheap, and that'll do the job, and that's fine. So we called the sales guy over, and I said, would you be able to check to see if you have any of them in stock, please? So he went over to his computer and checked. He goes, no, he says, we're sold out with them, and we only have one. That one there that you see is a demo. So I said, being a kind of businessman as well, and what you'd expect from a lot of businesses, is that I said, so, we get a little bit of a discount because it's a demo model. Now, if you go to a car showroom and the salesman says, well, we have this car here, but it's a demo car, you're not going to pay the same money on the demo car as you will with a car that hasn't been touched. Okay? You'd be mad to do that. So I said to the sales guy, I said, well, surely there's going to be a little bit of a discount because it's a demo, because people have been picking it up and prodding it and fingering it and everything else. And he said, no, we said, that's the price. And I said, well, do us a favour. I said, will you get the shop manager, and I'll have a chat with him, because maybe he might be able to do something as he's the manager. So off the sales guy goes, and the sales guy must have said something to the manager. Now, there was only about 3 or 4 people in the shop at the time. Okay, so it's not as if he was run off his feet. So the manager came out like a bull in a china shop, and his whole demeanour and attitude was just completely wrong. I mean, basically, if you went on a customer service course, you should have asked for his money back, because he came out like a bull in a china shop, and I said, it is a demo product. Would there be a discount on it because it's a demo product? No, he says, that's the price. And he looked at me as if to say, if you don't like it, there's the door, going out the door. And I said, so there's no movement on that at all because it's a demo product. No, he says, that's the price. So I said, okay. So just didn't like his attitude at all. Even if there wasn't a discount on, we all give a little bit of discounts on demo products. You generally expect it, and you generally get it. But he wasn't playing ball. He just had a really bad attitude. So regardless of the discount, his attitude was all wrong. Definitely all wrong. So anyway, cut a long story short, I did ring Steve because Steve reminded me there's an incident somewhere that Steve told me a couple of years ago which happened to his father, but I don't think you remembered that. Did you find out about it?
I think it was my father-in-law. No, I couldn't remember. I actually asked my wife as well if she recollected the story, and she said, I don't remember the ins and outs, but she said, I think Alan's right. There was something with her that he was purchasing an item, and it was a demonstration, and he asked politely for would there be a discount, and he got a discount.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're right. That's always been the way in this country. If something is used for a demonstration purpose where people are picking up and having a poke and a play with it, if it's the last one, they're not obliged to sell it to you.
No.
But, if you ask,
yeah,
they'll generally knock a few quid off.
That's all I did, like 10%. It would have been a tenner or something off just for a demo. And there was no joy in that. So anyway, I rang Steve, and Steve couldn't remember at the time. So, I wasn't happy with that. I wasn't happy leaving the fact that he had a very, very bad attitude. Now, maybe a lot of people would walk out of the store and go, sure, what can you do? Well, unfortunately, I'm not that kind of person. So when I got back home,
you bought some petrol
after doing, I got some petrol after doing what I'm doing. I rang up the DIE head office and I spoke to a chap there, and basically I said that I wasn't happy with his whole demeanour, his attitude, customer service was really bad, and I'm just not happy with the attitude at all. I'd like to make an official complaint about it. So basically, and a few other things I won't go into, but basically just I wanted to make an official complaint. So within half an hour of the phone call, I got a phone call from a lady from head office, and she said that she understands the situation, that she will be raising it to HR, and is there anything that she could do? And of course, I didn't say I kind of had a voucher, and I just said, well, at the end of the day, I'm not too sure, because I don't really want to give you the business based on the fact that the attitude, of the shop was really that bad. And she said, well, look, we'll send a voucher down to whatever shop you can go to, and we will, and just let us know, and we'll organise that for you. Now, I just happened to be going to Dublin the next day, so I told her what shop I was near to, and she had, fair play to her, organised a discount voucher in that shop. So we went in, they had plenty of this tablet in stock, and there was a €20 discount voucher there waiting for us.
Nice!
Right.
Yeah.
And now, there was a couple of other things that, little things that we got as well. But basically, that's what you get when you complain. Okay? If you get bad service, don't walk away and say, what can you do? It's a corporate company. Ring the head office and complain to the head office and say, I don't like the attitude, I didn't like it. Whatever the problem is that you have, ring them and tell them the situation. Now, I'm not saying that every time you do that you're going to get a discount voucher, but don't be afraid to ring and complain about it. Because I think we're too accepting, the Irish. We kind of go, sure, what can you do? And there's nothing you can do about it. And we don't do anything about it. Well, to be honest with you, I recommend that you do that. Now,
so I was just going to comment. I mean, do you remember years ago, probably in your parents' and my parents' time, where if you got a cake or a sliced pan, some bread, if that was imperfect in any way, if there was anything in it like a hair. Well, I remember years and years and years ago, my mother got, I think it was around Christmas time, she got mince pies made by, I can't remember the actual company, but she got these mince pies, and she found a hair in them. And I remember she got onto the company, because my mother, she'd be the same as you. Once she got her teeth into something, she wouldn't let it go.
Yeah.
And she got onto the company, and I think about a week or so later, we got a box was sent out with a courier, and in it was loads of cakes, biscuits, sweets, and there was everything you needed. It was almost like a hamper.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, Jesus Christ, that's the power of just picking up the phone, or the power of the pen writing a letter. I think my mother, she would have wrote a letter. But that's the power of it.
Yeah, definitely.
And you're spot on, but you're spot on as well about the Irish people and the attitude. A lot of people today is, sure, what can you do? Sure, there's no point in complaining. Sure, you don't get anywhere. I think nowadays, when you do complain, because one of the products my wife bought in the shop there about 2 months ago, was a Findus chicken something. Can't remember what it was, chicken breast or chicken whatever. She was giving it to I think it was one of my son's friends for dinner. And there was a small piece of bone in it. Now, it did actually say in small letters on the back of the box, may contain small bone fragments. But the bone fragment that we found, it would have been enough to harm a child. You know,
okay, yeah, choke, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So she rang up, she got the number, and she rang up the company. She said, look, this is exactly what's after happening. I know your box does say it may contain, or that there might be a chance, but this was after happening, and it's after entering the mouth of a child, and this child's after getting cut, and their gum was bleeding. So, you know, normally she said, I wouldn't pay any attention, I'd just throw it out and that'd be it. But because it's injured a child, your woman was horrified on the phone. We're going to send out a prepaid envelope. I want you to pop the bone fragment in and send it back to us, and we'll take it from there.
Take after you've taken a photo of it.
Oh, absolutely. That was do you know what? Great minds. That was the first thing I said. Or do not put that in any envelope. You take pictures of it and put a coin beside it as a reference.
Yeah.
So she did, and I was expecting, to be totally honest, I was expecting some guy, to knock at the door and to be Findus, this, that, and the other coming out the wazoo. I was expecting to have, you know, a freezer full of Findus products for the next 12 months. We got a €5 voucher.
Yeah.
A €5 voucher.
Mm.
You know, so I mean, it's still worthwhile complaining, but you know, you don't get as much as you used to.
I know. Well, I think during the year now, it's something that I talked about. The same thing happened to Super Value. I got cheese, and it was mouldy cheese. Remember that?
I do, yeah.
And I went and complained. I got some vouchers from Glanbia for cheese. The boy get more cheese off them, you know. Pretty cheesy.
Oh.
But no, I'm not a constant complainer. I don't want people getting the wrong idea. But look, if you get bad products or you get a bad service, you have to complain, because when you're running a business, you know, I mean, it's up to you to give good customer service. And if you get bad customer service, you report it. Now, it just so happens the moon must have been, you know, near some other kind of, you know, celestial body this week, because twice it happened. Once in DID and once in Carphone Warehouse. Now, I went into Carphone Warehouse to get some technology in there, again using a voucher, so we were restricted. It was just a fairly cheap mobile phone, and the chap got the phone, gave me the box, and everybody's happy. Chap, you know, off we go. Give him all my details and everything else, and then I take out the phone out of the box, and I say, hang on a minute, how am I supposed to transfer this data over? So to cut a long story short, I rang up Vodafone, and they sent me down to a Vodafone shop. And the chap, what's supposed to happen is that when you get a new phone, they're supposed to give you a clone SIM card. And then what you do is you put the clone SIM card in your phone, copy the SIM data over. And because it was a micro SD card, it's a smaller card than the smaller SIM than the normal SIM. So to cut a long story short, that's what the clone card's supposed to do. But your man in the shop didn't give me a clone card. He gave me an actual SIM card with a phone number on it, which means I couldn't actually do that. I couldn't use it the way it's supposed to use, like a clone card. So I haven't actually rang him back and had to talk to him. But I will be doing that. Not that would be a major complaint, but I'll just go in. But you see, the trouble is you're dealing with corporate companies, and it just seems that the customer service is terrible. So if you can go to the mom and pop stores and the smaller stores, if you can do that, then give them the business, because the corporate companies don't deserve it. They really, really don't deserve it. Now,
they just want your money, and that's it.
They just want your money.
End of story.
Now, the other thing that I came across as well is the telephone networks, like Vodafone, Meteor, all these telephone networks have the market sewn up. I was looking for a dual SIM phone, and there's no way could I get a dual SIM phone. None of the network providers would provide it. And the reason why is there's so many kickbacks from the mobile phone manufacturers and the actual phone, like Vodafone phone providers, that it's in their interest not to sell them types of phones. Because somebody who carries around two phones is better for business than somebody who carries around one phone with dual SIM option. Now again, because I had a voucher and a few quid, I had to use that shop. But if I had cash, I would definitely get it from somewhere else. So it's very hard. Apparently, Carphone Warehouse did a cheap version of a dual SIM phone a few years ago, and they sold out of it. It was very popular. And then all of a sudden, they stopped selling it. Now, anybody in business, if you have a product and you have something that's really selling, you get more in and you sell more of it. But because people were not buying two phones, they were buying one phone and two SIMs, they didn't like it, and the networks pulled the idea. And this is the problem with corporate companies. It's purely complete manipulation. You cannot get what you want. Now, yeah, if you want to do it, now I rang up Sony and I said, what's the story with your dual SIM phone? Oh, we only sell it in America. We don't sell it in the UK and Ireland. We tried to sell it years ago and there was no interest in it. I think that was a complete lie, because there's loads of people out there who have business people who have two phones and just want to carry one phone. So the moral of the story is, if you can just deal with mom and pop stores and give them the business, all the better, because the corporate companies don't deserve the business. And if we walk with our feet and then don't deal with them, they'll soon kind of wise up and cop onto it. But so there you go. It's not so much a rant, just more of life experiences dealing with corporate companies.
What was that? Sorry, what was that show that we seen maybe a year or so ago, where the guy, he wanted to try and get from one side of America to the other side just by using, as Alan says, the mom and pop stores. Anyone who's not familiar with the mom and pop stores, it's just like where I live. There's a Centra, I think it's a Centra, and the Centra's a big brand. It's all over Ireland, but there's a Centra store in one end of the street, and it looks identical to, you could walk into that Centra store in Dublin, in Cork, any of the 32 counties in Ireland, and they will all look the same. They're all laid out the same, but yet the service in it, you know, the staff are okay, they're fine, but the guy who owns it, he won't put the heating on for the staff, and if he does, it's only for short periods. He won't have two staff in and this is genuine. He won't have two staff in the store at night, when it's dark outside. You need two staff. He said, no, there's only need for one, because it's not that busy of an eating. So one person has to go in the morning. I think he has two people on during the day, during the busy time. Then after something like 6 o'clock, there's only one person on. So that one person has to lock up. You know, and I just think that it's all wrong. But that's his way of doing things. But that's one of these Centra stores. You go a couple of 100 yards down the road, and there's what we call the mom and pop store. It's a store where it's run by a family. You go in, they know everybody by name. You don't just go in and buy something. You can go in, you can stand there, you can have a chat, you can shoot the breeze. Where in the other stores, people really aren't. They're not that interested in talking to you. I think the whole ethos in the other stores, the big corporate stores, is just take your money and get you out of there. Next, who's next, and that's it. But yeah, the other store, people go in, they shoot the breeze, and it's amazing. It's one of these stores. I actually went into it once. Well, I went into it lots of times, but I went into it once in particular, and I said I needed some blank CDs, and I thought, you know, I'm not travelling all the way 20 miles to the next village, if you like, to get CDs. So I went into the shop and I said to the lady, would you have such a thing as blank CDs? And she kind of paused, scratched her head. She walked down to the end of the shop. She reached up onto a shelf. She moved some items on the shelf and says, "There we go. Will a 5-pack do you?" And I was blown away. You know, any time I've gone into the shop, she has what she. It's one of these. It's a mom and pop store. It really is. But they have everything. It's like, you know, like the Waltons. Remember the Waltons years ago? And they went down to the local store, and your man had everything in there. Yeah, it's one of those. But yeah, I think you're far better dealing with that. But there was a guy who done, and I can't think of the chap's name. He wanted to go from one side of America to the other, just using mom and pop stores and not using any of the big boys, the big corporations. He found it difficult, he said, but he was able to do it. It is possible, and he got from one side of the continent to the other just by using it. And even gas stations, petrol stations, he didn't use any of the big boys. It was all kind of little out of the way gas stations as well. So it can be done. Yeah, exactly. But if you can stick to the mom and pop stores, even better, you know, to be honest with you, rather than dealing with. And I know some cases they're more expensive, and you have to just deal with what you have budget wise, because, you know, we all kind of do a shop in Aldi because we know it's bloody cheap. The food's not probably 100%, some of it anyway, and not the best. But unfortunately, you have to buy what you can afford, and that's just the way it is.
But on certain circumstances, we can probably try and avoid the big corporates anyway. I mean, in DIAD Electrical, there was only about 3 or 4 people in the shop at the time. So it's not as if the manager was run off his feet.
Yeah. You probably interrupted his coffee break.
I probably did, yeah. That's probably what it was. Now, just a couple of more things. Christmas, Santa come along in the shape of Steve, and there was wrapped up in one of the presents that we've kind of swapped over to Christmas. There was a naked calendar. So thanks, Steve, for getting me the naked calendar. We have it up on the wall here in the studio.
Yes, we do.
We have January on the wall. 4 lovely ladies with their babies. And so, yeah, we did say we'd get a naked calendar. I didn't expect a pleasant surprise from Steve. Got that for Christmas.
Just say, for anyone who's kind of think we're perverts, it's to help fund Aisling Fitzgibbon, the girl against fluoride, her fight to raise funds to take the government to court in relation to the fluoride issue. So it's supporting Aisling and the gang. It's not just a sleazy calendar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is for supporting Aisling and the fight against fluoride getting removed from the water over here in Ireland.
Pictures are very tasteful.
They are very tasteful, and there's even men in them to keep the women happy as well. So, because I showed the calendar to a couple of women, and they said, "Is there any men in here?" And I said, "Yes," at the back. And he was flicking through, having a look have a look at the men. So,
you want to tell us about the calendar anyway?
Well, obviously, you know.
Oh no, sorry, I thought you were going to tell me the story that you told me before we went live.
About
you didn't open it.
Oh yeah, basically, I thought that present was for my son, and I gave it to my son to open up, and then of course my son's 12. And then he said, "Dad, I think this is for you, not for me."
Ah, bless him.
So he was wise enough to give it to me. So a big thank you to Steve for the naked calendar. As you say, we have it up on the wall here, and we'll support Aisling on that. And we'll probably get Aisling on in a few weeks' time just to get an update on what's going on and what she's doing, how she's doing with the fight, and if she has raised the funds or not. You know. Hopefully she has. Now, the other thing, we just want to remind people as well, thanks to all your donations, last year, since we're doing kind of annual reviews, we managed to get the scanner technology to scan people for microchips. So, don't forget, we do have that. We found the location. We haven't tested the location yet, but we're pretty sure that it's going to be okay, because it is out in the middle of nowhere. So, if somebody does want to get scanned, we'll have to organise it, because each scan takes about 45 minutes, I think, to do it thoroughly.
So we're going to be bringing people out to the middle of nowhere.
You'll be bringing the people, bringing people out to the middle of nowhere. But each scan apparently takes 45 minutes. And I know the people where we're probably going to do it. Haven't really asked them, but we'll be kind of standing outside from where they are. And but we'll be happy to explain to the people behind the counter who serve the coffee and tea what we're doing. But we'll just try it out anyway. We'll just see how we get on. But it's the options there anyway. So if people want to do it. Obviously don't inundate us with requests to do it, because we've only so much time that we can allocate to this. But, you know, if we do it, we'll have to do probably one a week. If that, you know, we'd have to see how we get on because of time restraints. But we'll sort something out anyway. We can organise something. But the average scan takes apparently about 45 minutes to do it, because you have to, there's like 3 scans, because there's 3 different kind of levels of frequency that you have to deal with. That's why. Right, okay, now, the annual review. Well, what we said we'd do is, tonight was kind of more of a kind of laid-back approach to an easy show, no guest on, just talking about, you know, the annual, how we got on last year, OYM, and the guests we had on the show, and the things we talked about, the things we learned, and things that happened during the year, I suppose, in relation to the show. So I kind of have a list of the shows and the guests we've had on.
No, you don't kind of have a list, you do have a list.
I have a very, very concise list here of the shows and stuff like that. And just starting off with, on the 6th of January, and I said to Steve, can you believe that it's just a year since we've had these people on? The guest was Heather Martin. She was a lady you wanted to talk about stopping Kevin Annette, if you remember back that far. And then we had Colin from the chap who has gone around Ireland gifting all the mobile phone masts with Orgonite. So we seen the video of Colin. And I emailed Colin and said, God, it'd be great if we have you on the show. Now, we only did half a show with him. But the information was so good, we asked him to come back on. But and then Colin sent us 2 Orgonite stones, myself and Steve, Orgonite stones. And he'd done a brilliant job, and he has a website now that sells the Orgonite stones, just to change the chi energy around you to positive rather than negative. And he's gone around on his own, still probably gifting the mobile phone mast. Maybe we should get him on again this year and catch up with him and see how he's doing.
Well, I think we should. I mean, if it's been that long since he was on, I mean, when you said it to me at the beginning, it's a year. Can you believe it's a year? I couldn't. It doesn't seem like it's a whole year has passed, but I mean, obviously it has. You have the date there in front of you.
Yeah.
But, no, it was brilliant what he was doing. The information that he gave us about the Orgonite, and I think we were put in touch with a video. Now, as far as I know, this video is on YouTube. If anyone is interested, it's if you just type in Orgonite and Wilhelm Reich, Wilhelm Reich. There's a great video on Wilhelm Reich and his studies back in the it was the 1950s or 40s. I don't know.
1950s, I think.
Yeah, with the argon energy. Sorry, and say Colin had kind of done his studying as well, and he gave us loads of information. I mean, that show was packed with information. And then when we done our own little bit of research as well, and spoke to other people who had used Orgonite, and then when he sent us the two little stones, we checked out his website as well. I think his website went live shortly after he was on our show. I know he was working on the website, but there's beautiful products in that. Even if you didn't believe in the power of the Orgonite, there's a lot of things on there, say the stones, pendants, and just beautiful little artifacts that would look well on a desk or on a
great for gifting for Christmas presents.
Absolutely,
and
yeah.
stuff. Great idea. Now on the chat facility we have a listener called JJ Walls, and JJ said, is it really possible that people are chipped? I find it hard to believe. Seems too science fiction for little Ireland. Well, there's the key argument there, JJ. I find it hard to believe. And the trouble is, that's cognitive dissonance. Okay? People find it hard to believe. People put their own morals on these people. And because they wouldn't do it, they assume that these people wouldn't do it. But as Karen has put up there, if you go to the website, the icaact.org website, you'll actually see video footage of even kids being microchipped. There's nothing in your body that should be transmitting a signal. It's that simple. And yet, Lars and Jesse are scanning people, and the scanner is picking up a signal. There should be nothing in your body, transmitting a frequency or a signal from your body. So I find it hard to believe is the key statement in that sentence. Sometimes we want to defend our belief system because we just don't want to believe that the world is a nasty place or can be. And unfortunately, these people do these things. So what you need to do there, JJ, I'm not being funny, is open your mind there and don't say I find it hard to believe. Go and check and look at the information. Go and do the research, check the information out yourself, rather than not believing it. Just say, if you have done the research and you have something that counters what we talk about, by all means, send it over to us, because we'll be happy to.
We look at anything. I mean, that's what we said before. We have a fluid belief system whereby if we we perceive this to be true based on what we've seen, but if someone else could send us information that will counteract what we've seen, then obviously, we're not going to. Our belief is not set in stone. It is fluid. So that based on the new evidence that we receive, our angle that we're coming from, or what we believe to be true at that moment in time, will change. Now I know JJ, he's asked for the Skype name there. I'm not sure if he's going to call in, but I'll just keep an eye on the Skype there, just JJ, in case you do fancy popping in.
No problem.
Or anyone else who wants to pop in.
If you want to call us on 046 927 1212, you can call in. The show tonight there's no guest on, so it's an open mic night. If you want to call in on the phone or call in on Skype, by all means do that, and we can have a chinwag on the show. So don't be afraid to call in if you want to do that, and we can have a chat with you. Right, I'll be probably pretty brisk because there's a lot of shows I mean, there's 52 shows, so I won't be. I'll just mention a few, and if anything kind of comes to mind or of interest, let me know.
Yeah.
The next show, the next person we had on was Neil Saunders, Mind Control. Always very good with mind control information, Neil. Very good guy to have on. Again, we might do the same this year. We might get him on and talk about it.
Yeah, from what I remember from having Neil on, Neil's in the UK, isn't he? Yeah, he is.
He is, yeah.
And I know he did give us great information in relation to mind control, and not just like what people may think mind control is. It's not someone going around like this thing out of the Men in Black films, the neuralizer. It's nothing like that. But Neil he gave us great information as to how people can control your mind, and he gave us little snippets of ideas and all, you know. And even so far, I think one of them he gave us was just by saying to your husband or your wife or your boyfriend or your girlfriend, oh, I'd really fancy a cup of tea, and that person going and making you a cup of tea. That's mind control in its simplest form.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely. So we had after Neil, we had Simon Parkes, who was an elected Labour Party councillor in Whitby, England, and he was a councillor, and he talked about his experiences being abducted and stuff like that, and quite interesting in what Simon had to say. Next we had Dr. Joyce Jeffries. She's an author of 3 books, and she was talking about the Antichrist and the cloned images of Jesus. So she had a couple of things to say. It was interesting. It was interesting. Now the next one was in February, the 3rd of February, was, as I just get my list here ready, Andrew Passaggio. Now Andrew Passaggio, is it Passaggio? Passaggio. He was the chap that actually was the team leader of Project Pegasus and the founder and president of Mars. He's a lawyer, and he said that he was a chrononaut, which he travelled to Mars. Now, there's a few of these people that are around, Andrew being one of them, but there's another couple of people that we could have got on the show at the time and talk about the same experiences, which was quite interesting. And I believe Andrew's running for president in 2016.
Yeah, I remember that. I think we said if we could support him in any way we could. I vaguely remember that show, but I do remember the information he gave us out and about the travelling to Mars. I remember he was talking about the space-time continuum, bending space, and he was saying that him and other people had made the trip to Mars, and he said it was kind of done in the blink of an eye, milliseconds. Yeah. And I do remember that listening to that show, or being involved in that show, it was very, very futuristic. It was very kind of Star Trek-ish. Yeah. It was way out there. Like when you're watching Star Trek, because you're sitting down, you're voluntarily watching it, you generally believe what's going on in the program. And I think when we were talking to Andrew, I believed what he was saying at the time. But when I walked away from the show, I remember my logical mind kicked in, and I was thinking, no, that can't be right. No, it couldn't be. And logic starts to kind of fall into place, and you're kind of, no, they couldn't do that. But he said he'd done it, and he said it with such conviction. So I mean, at the end of the day, he's walked the walk, he's talked the talk. I don't know. It
might come out, maybe this year or maybe next year, it might come out in the wash anyway. On what he's done. The next guest on the 10th of February was Brian Gerrish, and Brian obviously has great information as well, what's going on, and just giving us an update of things that were happening. Next,
yeah, Brian's good, and I think she's going to be in there as well, isn't she? The other girl that we had on, who was kind of she was against Brian. She was trying to discredit Brian. I can't remember. She was a girl now. I can't remember her name, but I'm sure she must be on the list as well. But Brian,
oh yes,
Brian's a good guy. Yeah. I mean, we've met Brian on several occasions, and I know Alan will be very in tune with people. And the way people say, "Oh, first impressions" and all that. I know because of Alan's background, he'd be kind of in tune with people. And he said to me before, like, he got a good feeling from Brian that Brian is he's the genuine article. What you see is what you get.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we as I say, we did the MSI radio seminar down in Waterford with Brian as well, and always been a nice guy. But each to their own. This lady, we'll get down to her anyway. We'll talk about it. The next lady, the next show was in February. And by the way, somebody posted up there, Agent, anyone see Elysium yet? We did see the movie, yeah.
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, no, you should see it, yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. I'd watch it if you can over Christmas. Well, over the next few days. Good movie.
Okay.
Of what they, obviously that's maybe their plan, what they want to do. The next person was Heather Martin. We had her on full time. We did a full show with Heather, and again she's against the Kevin and Annette campaign, and she had her opinions on what she felt about that. So
there was a lot of information there. I mean, we had Kevin on as well, and Kevin gave us the information as he seen it, and then this lady come on and she gave her take on it as well. And I think there seems to be a little bit of bickering going on between them.
Yeah.
You say tomato, I say tomato.
Yeah.
And I don't know if doing it on a public forum was the right thing to do, but I know Heather said she had a website set up and all, didn't she, to stop Kevin?
That's right, yeah.
I know there's bad blood between them, and again I say I know we were asked to have them on and we gave them both equal amount of airtime, but I think it was more of a personal fight that's going on between them, and maybe in hindsight we shouldn't have given them the forum to bicker on.
Well, they're allowed having their opinion, and that was their own opinion, so that's really what it's free speech. If we start restricting free speech, then we're as bad as the government. So, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to stop them doing that. The next person on was when we brought Colin back for a full interview. Colin, the Organite man, and we had a full chat with Colin. And I believe at the same time we had Mick from Liffey Sound FM in the studio with us doing co-hosting. So that's,
sorry, I'm just typing there.
So that was last February, the 24th of February. That's when Mick came up to the studio.
That's right, yeah.
And we have asked Mick to come up again. He was busy at the time, so we'll probably get Mick up again.
Yeah,
and
that
he
was
can
actually
give
very
us a hand
interesting.
co-hosting.
That was interesting because I think Mick, yeah, he's kind of doing what we're doing as well about the alternative media and looking at things from different angles and not just through the eyes of the newspapers and the 9 o'clock and the 6 o'clock news. What Mick is doing on FM radio, Liffey Sound, as Alan mentioned, and we extended the invitation. He did come up, and we had a great time. It was brilliant. And then Mick, I think he invited us down to Liffey Sound. I couldn't make it. I remember I couldn't make it, but I was able to tune in. And Alan went down there, and it was just great. And I think we've actually kind of found that since OYM has started that. A lot of that has gone on where we would we meet people and then we'd extend something to them and that they'd send an invite back to us, and it's probably like networking or something, but it's all good and all positive.
Yeah, definitely, it's good fun. And the next guest we had on then was after Colin was Colin from Attack the Tax and Tom Darcy. So they were telling us about the Attack the Tax principle and everything that went on there and what happened to Tom. And again, these are people that we should, again, probably this year, we'll try and aim to get back on the show and get an update and say, well, it's been a year down the line, what's been happening, and just get, find out what's going on.
Well, Tom was in the news there recently, only weeks ago, where it was Tom, wasn't it? He recently won his case. There was some case against him, and he won the case. That's as much information as I can remember at this moment in time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the whole Attack the Tax thing, it was started with great intentions, and Alan and I went to the meetings, we told people about it, we signed up, and we get the occasional email from the guys at Attack the Tax, but I'm not sure where things are at the moment. They do have a pending court case. Now, I know they went in with one of the cases, and I don't know exactly what happened, but it was rescheduled. Now, the whole Attack the Tax thing, it sounds great in principle. I subscribe to it, but in the end, what's going to happen, I don't know. Anyone who's not kind of sure what we're talking about, that was the property tax was brought in here. It was under the guise of a household charge, and people says, no, it's a property tax, and the government said, no, it's a household charge, and all monies raised will go into your local environment and your community and libraries, and it was all made to sound bloody amazing. But then somehow the household charge morphed into the property tax, and of course, by the time that happened, everyone who was against the household charge from the get-go, they were all kind of going, well, we told you so, and other people are going, oh, I'm not paying that. And then, of course, the usual scenario, you get the bully boy tax. Well, if you don't pay it, you're going to be fined. We're going to drag you out of your house. We're going to nail you to a cross and hang you, draw you and quarter you and all this carry on. So, of course, people start paying that. But, yeah, again, Attack the Tax, they went around, they gave great meetings, they gave some great information. And, as I say, I subscribe to it. I'm not paying it, but I'm not kind of sure where things are at the moment. We do get occasional updates. I should check that out and see when this court case is coming up, because, you know, it's, again, that's 12 months ago now.
Exactly.
Well, almost 12 months ago.
Exactly. The next guest on, we had Miles Johnston. Again, great information. Miles is doing a brilliant work in what he's doing. I believe he's moved up north, I think, the north of UK now. And Miles is doing sterling work, getting the information out there as well. He's been attacked a few times. Obviously, you know, you're getting close when things like that start happening. And he's been doing sterling work, so fair play to Miles on that. The next guest is Ben Gilroy. I don't know whether that was the first time we had Ben on the show.
I think it was.
I think it was, yeah. On the 17th of March, Ben was on. And, of course, getting an update on direct democracy and everything else there. Next, we had two people on. The first guest, this is 24th of March, was Marielle. She was talking about her natural products that she did. She manufactured and she designed and made herself. And then we had Mel V, the controversial Mel V.
Well, just backtrack a second there in relation to Marielle. I remember she gave us some great information about a lot of the products that you buy today and you don't even think about it. The likes of, say, soaps, the shampoos and all those kind of products that you would use on a daily basis. You know, the smelly stuff that everyone gets for Christmas. But Marielle, she's manufacturing her own. It doesn't have any of these parabens in it and all these other dangerous chemicals. It's all natural stuff. And she's set up her own little business there trying to promote these products. I know she's having some good success, but, you know, she needs more success, especially recently, as we've heard, that a lot of the products, some of the products by a certain big brand name company, I'm not going to give out the name, but I think it begins with a J. I'm not sure, but it's been brought to the news in recent times that a lot of their products have a certain ingredient which is considered a carcinogen. So, you know, they're still selling that and it's still going on the shelves and you're still putting it on your baby's backside. So it's people like Marielle who are going against, you know, these big corporations. They should be admired, and I'm not sure we have Marielle's website details to hand, but I'll certainly try and find them and maybe give them out. I'm sure she could do with some. Of course, she could do with the business. Maybe before Christmas would have been a better idea.
Exactly.
People could have got some of her stuff for Christmas. But yeah, Mel V.
Mel V.
The controversial Mel V. I remember hearing about Mel V, and I thought, I'm not going to like this woman, because she's going around publicly slating a guy who I've met, shook hands with, and have been in his company, and that was Brian Gerrish. But I remember when we had Mel on the show, I mean, she was beautiful. She was just a beautiful person. She was. I know. Again, though, I think she had her reasons why she was saying what she was saying about Brian. And again, she was doing it on a public forum, and she was giving us, putting out information there, you know, that she'd sent to Brian and Brian had sent to her emails, and I think it was Skype information. And again, we didn't have Brian on at that time to verify what was being said. But yeah, she was very, very controversial. I know she has her own show. She is not Australian, not New Zealand. I can't think of where she's from. I know someone had it up on the chat there. No, let's go. But South African, there it is there. Sorry, Mel V. South African, yeah. But before we went live with Mel, we had a good chat with her, and after we finished with her, we had a bit of a chat with her as well. And she actually seems like a nice person. Again, maybe she's just looking at Brian in the wrong light, or maybe she sees him from a different angle and vice versa. I don't know. Anyway, there we go.
Okay, no worries.
So much am I not doing much talking.
Well, just take it easy.
Yeah.
Right, okay, next show was 31st of March. I can't believe that was the 31st of March. Gordon Haskell. Remember Gordon Haskell? He played with a band called King Crimson. He played guitar with a band called King Crimson. And he was telling us about the music business and what happened to him. It's only till you look back and you look at the list of shows that we've done and the people that have been on the show, and you think, wow, time has flown by. It's flying by, you know, and it's just amazing, the speed that it goes through. Right, okay, so that was So we had Miles. Yeah, Miles Johnson came back again on the 7th of April.
He did, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
No, Miles had some great information. He'd done a series of videos. I think if you look up YouTube and go to Underground, I think it's Bases 13, is it? Bases? I think it's a Bases series anyway. But he has some brilliant videos, absolutely brilliant videos. And again, I'd urge anyone to watch them. I was very interested when we first got the chat to Miles, because I'd actually watched some footage of Miles back in it would have been the 1980s, where Miles went and he done a series of, there was a lot of pirate radio stations around here in the 80s in Ireland, and, well, I shouldn't say pirate, I should say alternative, unlicensed. They weren't pirates, they were just, people doing what they thought was the right thing to do. And because they didn't have a piece of paper, they were classed as pirates. But Miles done a brilliant video on all the pirate radio stations. He went around the whole lot of them and just watched people when they were at work, and he interviewed some of the staff and some of the DJs and some of the station owners. I think he also, one of the big boys back in the day would have been Radio Nova. And nothing like the one that's on at the moment here in Ireland. That's nothing to do with the original idea, which is the Chris Carey idea of Radio Nova. But Miles actually interviewed Chris as well, and yeah, that's when I first heard of Miles Johnson. And then when I heard he was on the show, and when we also found out that he was interested in a lot of the same stuff that we were interested in, and was able to send us, some good information, put more contacts our way. That was a brilliant show. Absolutely brilliant show. I'm just checking the Skype here as well, because someone did say that they tried to send us a request. I don't see any requests here, so maybe you need to check. Send us that request again, please.
Yeah, if you need to send JJ, if you want to hook up and come in on Skype, just send us a request there, and then we'll accept that, and then you'll be able to come in and have a chat with us if you want to do that. Okay, onwards and upwards. Well, controversial time, 7 for Justice. Now, in between the week of the 7th of April and the 14th of April was the time that my broadband was cut and the antennas were stolen.
That's right, yeah.
If people who remember that week, we had... now, 7 for Justice was very controversial in the information that she had and exposed. And in that week was the week that somebody went and decided that they didn't want OYM to be on the air and cut the broadband. Bit of a pointless exercise. So, because it was back up and running in a couple of hours. But,
yeah, she had some good information though.
She had some great information. That is a show that you should listen to. That's one of the, all the shows are good, but that is particularly good because of what she was exposing and the trouble she went through,
But she was even saying to us, wasn't she, that there was people trying to poison her. And she's seeing people messing around. I believe she said that the water supply in the apartment where she lived, and people were now, I suppose you could look at it from one angle and go, she's Looney Tunes. But she believed in what she was saying, and she had so much good information, and so she exposed a lot as well. So you kind of think, well, maybe people were trying to take her out. But then again, if people were trying to take her out, why wouldn't they just, walk up to her, knock, knock,
take her out?
No, bang, there you go, you're out again.
Maybe it's too obvious. Just going back to Crown on the antenna. Well, it's with the Gardaí Síochána, and the case is still open. So, should new information or should alliances or allegiances change, and should new information come our way, obviously it will be followed up and checked. And they do have certain information already, but they're waiting on a bit more. So that's as far as I can really say. I can't say any more about it at the moment. But they do have certain information. They're just waiting on a little bit more. So we'll see what happens. We'll keep you posted if we get more news on that anyway. So don't worry. Right. Okay. Now, 7 for Justice. Okay. Then we had a friend of mine, Mark Impey, who is an international spiritual medium, and Mark was over here visiting, and he came on the show, and we did a show with Mark. Again, information all about the spiritual side of things, which is always good to do every now and again, to see another side outside the 3D reality that we live in, that there's other things going on spiritually. So that was quite an interesting show.
When was that show again?
That was in the 21st of April.
Wow. Jesus. I know it's not a million miles away, but Jesus, yeah, I remember that show.
Yeah.
I actually remember it. Because I was just thinking when you were saying about Mark, I remember, if my memory serves me, after we finished the show, Did we not slip down the road for a quick one?
We did, and then we had a drink.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
you have a dirty mind.
Oh, I know. It must be the naked calendar.
Yeah.
So no, it was good having Mark over that time, and yeah, after Mark we did the spiritual stuff, and then after Mark we had Tony ZPE and Kate from Synchronicity Radio, Kate of Gaia, and Tony ZPE 0 Point came on, and we had a good chat with them about a few bits and pieces. I do believe the quality was a bit in and out because Kate of Gaia was being attacked on our Skype, so the quality wasn't the best, but it was okay. Just don't forget, if you want to phone in or you want to Skype in, you can phone in on 046 927 1212, or you can Skype in on OYM.Ireland. Just remember to send us a connection request, and we'd be more than happy to speak to you. This is a kind of laid-back night, just getting an update on what's going on and doing an annual review of the guests and the shows that we did over the year. And we're just in April at the moment. No, April 28th. That's Tony and Kate from Gaia. Now, all these shows that we're talking about, by the way, if you become a registered user, which is free, you will have access to all these shows which are available to play and download, with all the information as well. So there's information, and it tells you what show is what and what was said and what's going on and everything else. So these are all available on in our back end. When you log in as a registered user, they're all accessible, so you can get these at any time. The next was the 5th of May, which was Jerry Flynn. Now, Jerry Flynn was he's a retired Canadian Armed Forces captain, and he was kind of trained in the same area as Barry Trower, but in a different section. And he came out of retirement because of the smart meters, because his family were concerned about the smart meters being rolled out over there in Canada. And Jerry come on the show and talked to us. I can't believe that's May. Yeah. It's amazing when you look back and think, wow, that seems so far away, but yeah, it didn't seem that long ago when they've come on the show.
So near, but yet so far.
Exactly. So Jerry came on, and there's great information there. Then Rosa Kira, and Rosa was an ASA executive director. Oh, we have a caller, I think. Oh no. Oh, we 2 phones going. Grab that phone there.
Oh yeah.
Right, okay, we have somebody on the phone there. Let me just turn down the microphone if they want to come in and have a chat. Do we have a caller that wants to come in and have a chat, Steve, there? He's just having the chinwag with them. The 2 phones were going there in the studio at the moment. There's only 1 phone we're kind of interested in at the moment. So, okay. Okay, JJ's on the phone. Hang on, Steve, don't hang up yet. Hang on. Okay, just make sure. Hi, JJ. How are you doing? You okay?
I'm fine, thanks. No problem at all. Fine, thanks.
Thanks for coming on the show. As I say, it's a kind of open, laid-back night tonight. Do you want to come on and have a chat about anything in particular?
Yeah, what it was, I just posted a quick message on the live chat there about, well, a couple of things really, was organised crystals and earthing. Now, you've done a program recently, a show recently, and you covered earthing. So I decided to give earthing a go because I got quite a bad hip problem. I had a hip replaced many years ago, and every winter when it gets wet and cold and damp, I get these aches and pains going through my hip and down my legs. So I thought I'd give the earthing mat a go.
Okay.
And it's just quite a long mat I use at my PC, and my arms rest on it. But after about I'd say 2 weeks, I could feel no benefit whatsoever. But I happened to be on a stall in Mullingar, and I came across these crystals. So I thought they looked interesting, they looked quite nice, attractive looking. So I was talking to the girl that was selling them, and I bought one of these crystals. And I keep it in my pocket, every day. Mm-hmm. And pretty soon, within a couple of days, I found this aching and this uncomfortable feeling in my hip and my legs just disappeared. It definitely improved. So I found that, I don't know what to put it down to, whether it was the crystals, whether it was the earthing mat. I'm not too sure,
Yeah, well, the earthing didn't work for everybody. For some people, people have tried the earthing. For some people it worked and some people it didn't. I think a lot of people also underestimate the power of crystals as well. I have one of them crystal Bibles which tells you all about the crystals and which crystals to get for whatever ailment you have or whatever you want to do. And I think people really they underestimate the power of crystals. Now, in the orgonite stones, when Colin was making the orgonite stones, each orgonite stone had a crystal, just the bog standard, is crystal in the stone. And whatever works for you JJ, that's really what it boils down to. And if you feel having the crystal, because I know I've got friends of mine who carry different crystals with them, depending on the situation that they're going to go into or where they're going somewhere. Like if they're going to be loads of negativity or whatever, and they bring certain crystals and put them in their bags or their pockets or whatever, So, and I think people underestimate the power of crystals. So I'd urge people who don't know about crystals or who've done very little research in crystals to really check into the power of crystals and maybe they have an ailment or there's an issue or there's negative energy somewhere, and they can use the crystals to help their mood. Some people buy crystals and put one in each corner of the house to stop any negativity coming in. So many different uses for crystals.
The lady on the stall that I spoke to, I knew a little bit about crystals. I knew there was benefits from crystals, and it was just, I was killing time that day, and I happened to see these crystals, and she spoke highly of them, and it was a very attractive piece I bought. It was a clear quartz crystal, but very nice looking piece, shaped like a bit like a spear or a pyramid, So I just kept it in my pocket, just out of curiosity more than anything else. I didn't really feel that anything would happen. But I have to say, whether it was the earthing mat or whether it was the crystal, but I did definitely, the aches and pains that I was getting disappeared fairly quickly. I go for work every evening, so I definitely feel the benefit of whatever is working. And the other thing is orgonite. I mean, I've made quite a few of these orgonite stones. I spoke to Colin. I bought the crystals of Colin. I've bought the resin. The everything that you need to put together to make it. And I've made quite a few of these, so I can't say that I've noticed any black helicopters flying overhead, but, I've made them, Colin believes there's a benefit, and a lot of people do believe there's a benefit from them, but I do find that the whole subject of crystals, orgonite, and fascinating, I think there's a lot of benefit there that most of us don't realise.
Oh, definitely, I think so. Again, Steve, you want to...
Yeah, I was just going to say, JJ, maybe, excuse me, just in relation to the earthing, I know it may not work for everybody, but as we discussed on that show, if you had a meter, then one of these meters that we talked about, then you could actually see what kind of electricity was around you when you're sitting at the PC. I'm just guessing if that didn't work for you, maybe there wasn't that much electricity, floating around when you were at the PC. But definitely, what you're saying about the crystals there is very interesting, and this person that you bought them off, and you said it was in Mullingar, was it out of a shop or was it at a stall or a market? And if so, when is this market on?
Yeah, I'll tell you exactly where it was. There's a mall in Mullingar. There's actually a penny store at that mall. It's beside, not far from the railway station, and in the centre of the mall, there's like a market area where people have these stalls. And I think it's every Friday. It was around just before the Christmas period that I was in there browsing around. Just my wife's buying some shopping presents, and I just happened to see them. And I think they're there every week. So, very, very, very attractive looking crystals. Really nice crystals. The piece I bought was about €12, I think. It wasn't expensive. And I just carried, just a nice size that hold in my hand, a lovely shape to it, really nice shape to it, nice colours. It's just an attractive piece. But I carry it in my pocket now all the time. And I can't say what the benefit is. I can't say, but I just, from what I'm told, I believe there is a benefit. And I do know that every crystal vibrates. There is a vibration in every crystal. And I know that there is power behind these crystals. I can't explain it, but the lady that I bought it, I've explained it very well.
Well, that's quite interesting. No, if I can, I must pop down there, because I don't live a million miles away from Mullingar myself, so I must actually pop down, because maybe if we can get some information off this lady, there could be a show on it. You never know.
She's there every week, I believe.
Brilliant information.
Yeah, good.
No, that's great. Well, thanks for phoning in, JJ. Is there anything else you want to touch base on?
Yeah, just what you said about being chipped. I said I find it hard to believe that in this little country that there's a possibility of people being chipped. I just find that really hard to believe. And I know you went to a lot of expense to buy this equipment to test people.
Yeah.
But can you give me an instance where you know that this has actually happened? Because I just find it so hard to believe that this could actually happen in this country.
Well, if you go to the again, the equipment we have is fairly new, and we had to do the training with Lars and Jesse because they're the guys who run the ICAART.org website. And if you pop along to their website, you know, Lars is based in Denmark, I believe, and Jesse is based in America. And if you pop along to their website, they have videos of children, even children, you know, young children, where they're scanning the child, and you'll see the actual scanner go up, showing there's something transmitting from their body. And they have loads of videos and loads of evidence of people being scanned. Now, not everybody is microchipped, but there are people out there called TIs, which is targeted individuals. And these people, for some reason, are targeted by the powers to be. And their life is just turned upside down. And we've had, like Seven, who was on our show, was at one time a targeted individual. But we are in contact on a regular basis with people who are targeted. They're not all microchipped. But the best thing to do, JJ, is to pop along to the ICAART.org website and have a look at all the evidence the guys have there. We've also had Barry Trower on their website, and Barry Trower has confirmed that this happens, and also Walter Graham was on the site as well, and he was confirming it as well. Lars and Jesse are probably the experts, but there's also an international organisation called MCI International, which support targeted people. And
where do you think that they are being chipped? I mean, what opportunity is there to chip somebody when they go to the doctor for a medical procedure? Where does it happen? What opportunity is the chip inserted?
Yeah, a lot of the time it's either through a vaccine or actually through a medical procedure or dentistry or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I know.
Post the link on the chat room, and I'll have a look at it. But yeah, I just find it hard to believe that.
Yeah, no, it is hard to believe, but this is why we have to challenge our belief system. And we have to say, right, okay, I'm not going to say, this is why we always kind of quote Aristotle, where the mark of an educated mind is to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. So even though you mightn't accept it yet, you entertain it and you go, right, okay, I want to go off and check this myself and see it. Because it's very easy for us to put our belief system or our morals onto these people. And because we do that, we think, oh no, they wouldn't do it. Like Hitler wouldn't go and kill 6 billion people, would he? You know, so what we have to do is we have to kind of stop ourselves from doing that, because that's their automatic response. And what we have to do is we have to say, okay, I'm not going to think that way. I'm going to think differently. I'm going to look at the evidence and have a look at what people are saying about this. And based on your research and what you find, then you make your mind up to it. But there are thousands of people globally who are suffering from this, and they're called TIs.
Yeah, I read quite a bit about it, and I believe it happens, but it's just, you know what I mean, it's just very hard to believe that it's happening in this country. But lads, listen, I enjoy your show. I download the show every Sunday. I don't listen to it live very often, but, keep up the good work. The show is very, very good. I find it very informative, and I wouldn't miss it.
Brilliant stuff. Well, that's much appreciated, JJ. And JJ, if you can send us an email with your address, we're going to send you some stickers in the post there. Thanks for phoning in. And if anybody else wants to phone in or Skype, if you phone in a Skype, we're going to send you some stickers for phoning in and making the effort to do that. JJ, thanks for coming in. As I say, send us an email. We'll send you a link. We'll send you a link with this information, with the ICAART website and a few other things that you can have a look at, okay? And you can have a read. But also, send us your address and we'll send you some stickers.
Thanks very much, lads.
All right, JJ. Take care.
Happy New Year.
Bye-bye.
Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. Now, a nice call there from JJ. Thanks very much, JJ, for for ringing in. Yeah, and as Alan said, if anyone else wants to ring in, even if it's just a quick Skype on OYM.Ireland or a 0469271212, we'll throw you a few stickers. JJ saying such nice things about you. Steve's crying. Steve's not crying. I'm not crying, I promise.
Okay, so we were talking about Rosa, and then the next one was the 19th of May, which is Tony Zed and Tammy Pepperman. Now, we were talking about the OPPT. Whatever happened to the OPPT?
I don't know.
That seemed to disappear, didn't it?
It was. I think OPPT was a bit of a flash in the pan, really.
I think it was.
It was headline news. It was gonna wipe out the debt. It was gonna be the banks would just crumble and die, and there was all this paperwork, reams and reams of paperwork, and there was so much effort put into setting up the OPPT, and then it just seems to. To be honest, it just seems to have died a death. It could be still going on, I don't know. But it was kind of in your face all the time. You know, people were promoting it. And that seems to have stopped. I'm not saying it's gone away. It could be still there in some guys. But the information that we had from various other individuals were also saying that it was kind of, you know, a pyramid scheme, or, you know, it was a hoax and don't get involved and it was a waste of time. And even though there was supposed to be some high-ranking people on it, you know,
exactly,
lawyers
getting involved with it, yeah. Okay, that was the OPPT. Then, the 26th of May, we had John Irwin, Super Soldier. And I was talking with John for a good while, and maybe John's busy now doing the movie. I know he had our documentary as information to expose, so I'll have to catch up with John. Again, these are just people that we need to catch up with and get an update from. But John had good information there as well. And then on the 2nd of June, we had Dean Clifford. And Dean, brilliant information. I'm not too sure what's happening with Dean now. I know he disappeared, and I think they arrested him. I don't know whether Dean's out. So
I heard he was locked up, and then I remember hearing a while then after that he had been released, but he's kind of gone off the radar.
Yeah,
and again,
exactly.
maybe we're just moving in different circles, but yeah, he seems to have quietened down a lot.
Yeah, we need to find out as well. And again, having Dean on would be brilliant. And of course, we have our girl Aisling Fitzgibbons came on the 9th of June. And telling us about, and Tony Zed from Synchronicity, I believe, was on again. But Aisling was on, and she was telling us all about the campaign and what she's doing. So again, we'll get an update from Aisling, but we got a calendar there to support her.
You think about when Aisling was on, and do you remember me and you went to do, or me and you, or you and I, there we go. We went to one of the talks in the Greville Arms Hotel in Mullingar. Yes. And I believe it was down there, wasn't it, where we met Aisling?
Yeah, met Aisling and her mother.
And her mum, yeah. And I think at that stage, you know, Aisling, she was kind of a good bit along the road in her campaign, but I think after that she had the meeting in Mullingar, then she started going out doing the Girl Against Fluoride. I think that kind of morphed from that, and she then, she started travelling up and down the country. And she was visiting a lot of the schools, and there was a load of information on Facebook as well. She started a Facebook page. She started the Girl Against Fluoride website. She started putting all the information she had up there. And I say there was loads of images where she had gone into schools and spoken to students, and they were all kind of wearing a rubber glove, and they were all kind of holding up the rubber glove, and they were advertising the campaign that way. And there's a lot of information, and I know. I think at that stage, Aisling, I won't say she was wet behind the ears, she was eager to go. And I think after, say, the initial kind of kick-off, when everything kicked off, she's really, really taken the bit, she's got the bit between her teeth, and she has certainly run with it. And as I didn't envisage that she was going to bring out a calendar. Now, I know she was talking about, she'd done a couple of stunts, if anyone remembers the stunts, whereby she would have been in, say, the city centre, and she went into the city centre, and herself and a few friends, they all stripped off for the cameras, and they think they done one in Dublin as well. They stripped off, and that was their fluoride campaign, and I think they done one outside the Dáil. It was either the Dáil or Leinster House. I always get those two buildings mixed up, and it was kind of, that's what she was doing. She was doing a stunt here and a stunt there, and I think it was kind of, after a while, it was beginning to lose its lustre, if you like. So then she had the idea of the calendar. I think the calendar was a brilliant idea, not only because it really, well, everyone needs a calendar, but it was a great idea for Christmas presents. When I say when she brought them out and she told us about them, I said, well, you know what? I know I'm getting Alan for Christmas now, and we did, and they were a brilliant Christmas present. I mean, I know it's called a naked calendar, but they're not naked as such. I mean, well, it's tastefully done. If you can appreciate that, it's very, very tastefully done. You know, it's not rude, it's not vulgar. It is tastefully done. And of course, my wife looked at it and says, "You're not putting that up in the kitchen." And I says, "Why?" And she says, "I think you fancy your woman." And I go, "No, I don't. Would you ever stop? Don't be so insecure." but you know, she said, "Are you not?" And I said, "Hang on a second, go through it." "No, I'm not having that in the kitchen." I said, "No, go through it." So we went through it month by month, and even at the end, she said to me, "Do you know what? It is tastefully done. It's not that bad. It leaves a lot to the imagination. You know, I mean, even the one that we have up there behind us now for January, as I'm looking at it now, it's kind of mothers feeding babies, but they're not breastfeeding them. They're just kind of holding the babies there, and I think one has a bottle. But it is very tastefully done, and I think based on Aisling, where she's come and where she is now, I can only wait. I can't wait to see what's next, because she's definitely going from strength to strength.
That would be our calendar. The OYM naked calendar.
Yeah, we talked about that. That's not going to happen. Trust me.
We'll ask people to pay so we don't do it. Rather,
we'd have to pay someone to come in and take pictures of us.
I don't even want to go there. Right. Okay. The next guest that we had was a chap called Chris Thomas, and Chris was an author and a healer, and that was a very popular show because Chris had a lot to say. I found Chris's information very interesting. What's going on? And again, these are all can be found. All these shows are available if you register and go into our podcast archives. They can all be found. Excuse me. Then after Chris, we had Lou Collins, which is Brian's sidekick on UK Column. And we just had a general chat with Lou, catching up on what UK Column are doing. That's on the 23rd of June. And then we had Gary. The first time we had Gary Heseltine on. He's the ex-detective constable, UK Police, retired. And he runs the Prufo website for the UK Police in the UK, and which, again, we've found that very interesting, good information, again, from Gary.
But that's all about UFO sightings, isn't it?
Yeah, that's all about UFO sightings. That the police and people who are of a level like military or pilots or radar people are expert with radar. All these people, they're the people who go to Gary and report their information, who are trained observers.
Yeah, so it's not like people after smoking some funny tobacco, with a tinfoil hat, going in and going, "Oh, you never guess what I'm saying." Really, this is kind of, it's all documented information. So I mean, we spoke to Gary a couple of times. He's a great guy to chat with. Exactly.
And then we had Drake and Denise on. Remember, we had a tie-up with Drake and Denise and her show.
Yeah,
that was a nightmare. It was a bit of a nightmare, but it did work. We got it working, and that was kind of good, having the tie-up there with Drake. And then we had Patrick Kelly, a Free Energy. Now, Patrick, loads of people, all the techies, love that show. All the people who are into the free energy stuff. Well, mind you, we might have to get him on again, actually. But a lot of people love Patrick's show and the information that Patrick had. Again, it was very interesting. We really got down to the techie stuff, So, again, these are, you look back and you think, hey, yeah, that was great information. Let's get that person back on and do round two,
Actually, just when you're talking about that, when you do look back, instead of looking back over the last 12 months, you look back over the past 3 years, and when you think of some of the people who we've had on, and we've had great chats with them, and they're no longer with us now. I mean, Ted Gunderson.
Gunderson.
When we had Ted's ex head of FBI, we had him on. He was a great guy. Absolutely brilliant before the show. He was brilliant during the show, and I think we spoke to him as well after the show. And an absolutely a gentleman he was. And sad to say, he's one of the many people who are no longer with us, unfortunately.
Bob Chapman, he passed away as well. And there was 3 people, wasn't there, that we said? Ted Gunderson, Bob Chapman, and there was someone else who was on our show who passed away.
Was there someone on
Lloyd Pye.
Lloyd
Pye.
Yeah.
He gave us an exclusive on the show. That was interesting. And he passed away. Now, the next person after Patrick Kelly was Ricky Simpson. I can't believe it. Just seems like we had Ricky on just a couple of months ago, but it was actually in July when we had Ricky on. Then after Ricky Simpson, which is great information from Ricky, we had Guy Taylor. Again, great information from Guy regarding the law and what's going on. And then we had Bill Maloney and Brian Harvey. Brian Harvey from East 17 fame. If you're old enough like us, and in the 90s, if you remember a band called East 17, well, Bill Maloney and Brian Harvey was on the show.
That's Bill, yeah, Bill from Pie and Mash Films.
That's right.
He's doing a lot of great work. There's a lot of great YouTube videos of Bill where he pulls no punches, and he's actually seen on video going up to local politicians, and he doesn't beat around the bush. He just if he has a question to ask, he asks the question. If he doesn't get an answer, he keeps asking the question, and he keeps at it and keeps at it. But yeah, he's a good guy. And Brian, we had a great chat with Brian. I think I knew one of Brian's songs. I had to kind of pretend I knew more, but I didn't really. But Brian, he exposed a lot of what went on in the music business and a lot of what he's seen in relation to the drugs and various other things. That was a great interview.
I know, and we said we'd get Brian on, so maybe this year we'll get Brian on and give us an in-depth interview regarding the music business. I know Crown Copyright said that was there any result from the Ben Fellows lie detector. We haven't heard anything back, Crown, so we don't really know. Haven't heard any back. But maybe if we get Brian on, maybe he'll have some information that he'll even tell us about, and maybe he might know about it. After Bill and Brian, we had Deborah Tavares and Ben Gilroy. And Deborah, again, she's a regular on the United We Strike Marathon, and Deborah had loads of information to tell us, and it was great, again, great information there. And then Ben came on, gives an update on what's happening with DDI and stuff like that. So another great interview. And then we're into August. It just seems that the year has gone so quick with these interviews. I have to say, it's amazing. Into August, then we had Abby Martin. My woman, Abby.
Your love interest.
Yeah, I want to marry that woman. Abby, we had Abby on from Russia today. Again, great information, great interview. Enjoyed that. And again, we'd like to get an update from Abby, maybe in a few months' time on the show, and have a chat with her, and catch up on what Russia Today is doing, and what she's doing with the Media Roots, her own website, and what's happening there. Then we had Gordon James Gananotto. Now, Gordon was an attorney, author, photographer, contractor, artist, and an ET contactee. And again, good information from Gordon regarding ISON, regarding ET, regarding the air changes and the energy changes, which are currently taking place on the planet at the moment. And some of you may have realised that there's definitely an energy change taking place and things are going on, and some other people mightn't feel anything. It's just the way, just how sensitive you are to it, that's all. Then after Gordon James, we had Barry Trower on, so we had Barry on again, and we were talking about all the bits and pieces regarding Wi-Fi and everything else. Then after Barry, we had Claire Daly on, which is a good interview.
Yeah, well, just before we go talk about the Claire one, I mean, the Barry Trower one, anytime we've had Barry on, again, we don't just have him on the show. I know Alan would often touch base with Barry Jordan a week as well. I know he's been on the phone several times, and we get a lot of information from Barry. And he's even, one of his reports was written and sent to us, and it was done in a fashion whereby a child could understand it. It was really written in layman's terms. Now, he did give us another report, and this was full of technical jargon which I would never understand. But the one that he gave us, said that a child could read, that was brilliant, and I used it and as part of my petition in the school, the local school, to address the Wi-Fi issue. I sent that in to the local school, to the board, and I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't. I thought that would be the straw that broke the camel's back. That would be the tipping point. But again, anyone who's a regular listener would have heard me say a couple of weeks ago, it was brought up at a recent AGM meeting. But again, the principal of the school, she said, no, I've been on to the Department of Education. They said it's completely safe. And they moved on to the next subject, which I thought was very, very remiss of them, because the information, it was everything. I mean, I gave them a lot of information, but just Barry's report, I could have just given them that report and nothing else, and that should have opened a few eyes or a few minds at least. But sad to say it didn't, but there's more in the pipeline. We're not done with that yet. Anyway, Claire Daly.
Claire Daly. Well, that was a pre-record, a great interview, but if you remember, when we asked her, and it wasn't her fault, the line dropped off, and we asked her about why can't the government issue interest-free money, and the line went dead after the interview. But we did get an hour and 10 minutes with Claire before that happened, and again, she was very frank to what she said about the current Irish government and what was going on. So, and I'd like to think we can get more independence on this year, where we'll try and do that as well.
I think we should get Luke Ming, Cannabis Flanagan, up to the studio.
Exactly. He might have some water with him.
What? No.
PISS water, yeah.
No, Luke Ming,
Cannabis
Flanagan.
Legalise Cannabis Flanagan.
Might bring us up with something.
Here's a present for you, lads, yeah. Okay, and then we had Ollie Damigard. He moved to Spain because he was under threat of the powers to be. And that was a good interview again, and we'll have to get Ollie back on again. We did say we'd get him on. And then the second half of the show was Michael Tellinger. And Michael was telling us all about South Africa and our culture and who we really are as opposed to who we think we are, because we've been conditioned to believe certain things. Again, a great interview, great information from Michael. We want to do a full show with Michael, so we'll try and get him back on. We will do our damnedest to do that. And we are now into just come to the end of September. Walter Graham, we'd Walter on. Well, Walter was on, if you remember, I took a sabbatical for about 3 weeks. I needed to recharge the batteries. I needed to take time off. And Steve, fair play to Steve, he took over the gauntlet and ran with it. And for 3 weeks, he done the 3 shows on his Todd. Fair play to you, Steve.
I ran with it, yeah. I dropped it a few times, though.
No, you were fine. You were fine. Yeah. And you interviewed Walter, Karen, and Harry O'Reilly in them 3 weeks. So well done with that.
Oh, thanks very much. Don't forget now as well, Jordan last year, we did have an event. It was the first one that we've attended a few of them, and we've given talks at several events around the country. But we organised one ourselves last year, and just talking to Walter Graham, we invited Walter down to a local hotel in Kells.
That's right, yeah.
And he came down, and we had a room booked there for an information evening on dangers of Wi-Fi and wireless technology. And that went down well as well. It wasn't the turnout that we hoped. But it was quite a good turnout, and everyone who did turn out, they left there with a lot of information. But that was brilliant. I think that's we probably have to try and organise more of those. Maybe 2014 could be our year.
Exactly. Now also, so after we came back, we had Clive de Carl again. Great information from Clive regarding the health and taking vitamins and magnesium and stuff like that. Very, very good information. Then after Clive, we had Karen Hudis. I'm just watching the time, so as usual, it's always there. Then we had Karen Hudis, the World Banker, the whistleblower. Again, great information from Karen telling us what went on. Again, we'd probably get her on again in this year if we can get her on. It might be a good idea to get her on. Then on the 27th of October, we had John Whitrick, who runs the GetOutOfDebtFree.org website. Again, good information from John. If you go over to the website, if you haven't seen it, we recommend you go over there and just have a look at John's website. He's got a load of template letters for writing to the likes of mortgage companies, credit card companies and stuff. So check it out and see what you think. We thought it was very good. I know he said, I think at the time we were going to redesign his site. But it was very good, the information he has on there. So check it out. Then we had... In the 3rd of November, we had Dr. Philip Michael, MD. And again, we have to get Dr. Philip back on. The things that we have to do, we have to hook Dr. Philip up with the Phoenix Tears group in Canada. So that needs to be done. Then after that, we had Karen Quinn Tostado, United We Strike, and Detlev on. And I believe, we had to have, I think that's when we had Claire, we were hoping Claire would be on the show, but she couldn't make it, so we got Karen on and Detlev. We got good information, and we were swapping information with Karen and Detlev on that show. And then coming into the 17th of November, we had Clive on for part 2. So we got Clive in again to do part 2, because we said to Clive that we'd do part 2, and we did with Clive.
That was brilliant information he had as well.
Very good.
I know he said he'd been diagnosed with, was it osteoporosis, and he cured himself. I think he cured himself, was it 27 years ago?
Yeah, exactly. They said it was incurable osteoporosis, and he went ahead and did it. Then we had Lark in Texas and Gary Hesseltine on again, giving us an update of what went on. And then we had...
Lark in Texas, that was a bit of confusion.
Yes.
I thought it was Lark and Rose of the YouTube video fame, but it wasn't. It was Lark in Texas. And what was the communitarianism, I believe, is what he spoke of. We got a good show on communitarianism. And I'm still not 100% sure exactly what it is.
We just had to go back and listen to the show again.
I've listened to the show and I still,
still not getting it. Then we had, in the 1st of December, we had Cara and Margaret, who are sufferers of electro-hypersensitivity. And then we had a phone in from Helen, who was in third person that suffered from that as well. And that's a symptom that there's a lot of people over here in Ireland that are suffering from, and globally. And they had a terrible day-to-day life because they had to keep moving all the time to get away from these signals because it was affecting them. Really, really bad, you know. So, again, we'll have to get an update, but I think the ladies were getting rid of it. I think Helen was getting rid of her internet at one stage, so find it understandable if it's affecting you that bad. Then we had, on the 8th of December, we had Dr. Rebecca Carley. And, again, great information from Dr. Rebecca Carley about reversing the effects of vaccines.
That's right, yeah. I mean, that was a powerful show. That was a very powerful information because I know she spoke of that her son had been vaccinated and then he developed brain damage. But she was instrumental and she was able to reverse, I don't know how successfully, but she said she was able to reverse the effects of the brain damage. And some of the information she gave us on the show was... Well, it was interesting, but some of it was it was hard to digest. And then, like the curveball, I didn't see at the end. I didn't see this one coming at the end. I didn't know about it when she told us that her son had been taken from her, and she hadn't seen him in I can't remember the amount of years, but she hadn't actually seen him, and she reckoned that there was abuse going on there as well. Again, I didn't see that one coming, and I'm not kind of sure exactly what the whole story is, but. Definitely the information relating to the vaccines, I found that very interesting because, as a long time listener to the show will know, that's something I'm going through at the moment. Since my mind's been opened, my latest addition to the family, 12 months old, we haven't had any needles put into her, and so far, with the exception of, as just said Alan before at the beginning of the show, she had chickenpox, but that's a viral thing. Anything, up to that, she's been healthy and happy in the 12 months she's been on the planet, and let's hope it stays that way.
Exactly, fingers crossed. And the last two, 15th of December, we had Dinah Everett-Schneider and Aisling Fitzgibbon, and again, Dinah, brilliant information on everything she talked about, really, really had authority on what she talked about, and loads of experience on it. And, of course, last week, which was Aidan Killian, comedian, Irish comedian that we had on, and I am amazed that we have a few minutes left to go in the show, and I got through all them shows.
Were you practicing during the week?
I wasn't practicing, but there you go. It's all about timing. Time management. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So,
Aidan Killian, though. Brilliant guy.
Brilliant guy. Brilliant comedian. A great humour because he's open mind, you know. And thanks, Copyright. Now, Copyright, listen, for next year for Christmas, Copyright, if you can get me a timer, that would be fantastic. Okay? Just in case I forget my timing. Because there's always a wind-up regarding timing. But there you go. That was the whole annual review of all the shows and the people that were on the show in OYM for 2013. I'm sure there's probably going to be a lot happening in 2014. Hopefully things get better. I just hope they don't get any worse than what they are, because things are pretty bad at the moment. Now, there's certain predictions, again, I hate to mention, but you know, there's different arguments. People are talking about Comet Ison and exactly what's happened to it. Some people are saying it's broken up, other people are saying it's not. There are people saying that by mid-January we will know, because we will be going through the tail of Ison if it is there. I don't know.
If it's there, but from what we've heard anyway, it seems to have broken up upon the old perihelion. So it's allegedly no longer. But then again, you know as well as I do, we can't see that far into space. We don't know. We could be getting fed a line, someone going, sugar, this is going to hit the Earth. the people are just, it's going to wipe us out. But sure, they wouldn't tell us anyway.
Well, definitely what we have to look at are things like what's happening in America regarding the FEMA camps and the military training and the likes of the sky watching equipment, the satellites being switched off, and all these kind of things. These are all practical things that people know are going on. So there's something definitely going on. Now, there is a good group on YouTube called Secure Team 10, which seem to have the finger on the pulse. I don't know if it's, if it's the powers to be and controlled opposition, I don't know. And another lady called Reverend Michelle Hopkins, who seems to know a little bit of information as well. Again, I don't know what the inside information is. Also, you have Cobra, which is with his 2012 portal, and he's talking about the energy changes on the planet. And then you have ZetaTalk.com, which is Nancy Leader. And she talks about the pole shifts and what's happening now. If you look at the weather, I was talking to somebody today about it, and if you look at the weather patterns that we're having at the moment, the likes of the UK and all the flooding, I mean, I don't know whether they have any records saying that if that has happened before. I don't know. But we are definitely getting global changes of things that are just very strange. So we just have to keep our eye on the pulse. And again, the three things that you need is shelter, heat, and food. So do stock up. Do make sure that you are prepared should anything happen, even if it's a case that we're getting a bad winter and the winds pick up and electricity goes or the water goes, that you have supply and stock and heat. You just don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's around the corner. So, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. It's the saying, okay? And if you have food stored up and nothing happens, you just use it. No problem. Save money. But you're better off having it. But there you go. So, as I say, we have 3 minutes left. The next show we do next week the guest will be Kevin from Tyrannosaur. We'll be all talking about, Kevin's just done a degree in law, and it'll be interesting to touch base with Kevin to talk about the law and what he learned compared to what he knows about all the other stuff that we talk about, acts and statutes and everything else. And there is another guest that we hope to have on. Crown Copyright has asked us to get this person on, but if he's available, we'll get him. If he's not, he's not. But we'll see what we can do. I don't know who's on with Vin tonight. I know Lorraine was going to do a show, and I'm not too sure what the story is there. Somebody's going to cover her show, but we don't know who's on at the moment. So, but tune in. Whoever's going to be on at 9 o'clock, I'm sure it's going to be very interesting. But from ourselves at OYM, oh yeah, we have the White Rabbit going to be on. We have Simon Spaniard. He's going to be on our show. We're still waiting confirmation on Paul Hellier, who's the ex-Minister for Defence in Canada. We're still waiting on confirmation from him. And we did receive a book from Graham Monroe, Dr. Graham Monroe, who's a dentist. And his book is called Toxic Dentistry Exposed, which I'm going to start reading before we get him on. That's going to be interesting. But for myself and to everybody listening, have a great new year. Take it easy. Stay safe. If you have any information, send it over to us. Or if you have any requests for guests, send them over and we'll see what we can do. But for myself, Alan James, stay safe. Have a good new year. Bye-bye.
Okay, you're leaving me with... I thought you were leaving me with 2 minutes to fill. It's only 1 minute. Okay.
Two minutes on my computer.
Right. 1 minute on that one. That's the one that counts. Yeah. No, again, it's been a very interesting year from my perspective. I know Alan does a lot more of the running around and the groundwork here at OYM. I just pretty much turn up and, check out the chat and whatnot. And, Alan does all the research. He gets all the guests on. And I think we should give him a big round of applause. So a big round of applause to Alan. There we go.
Thank you, Steve.
There was a sound effect there somewhere, but I'm not going to go listen to it.
Steve does other work. He's just being modest.
Okay, if you say so. Yes, but it has been an interesting year. And I just hope that in 2014 we'll continue on, and I just hope 2014 is our year and we make some headway, and it's just a better year for everybody. And maybe these parasites who are running this country into the ground, we can just get rid of them. And there we go. Okay, it's hit 9 o'clock, so stay tuned to MSI, and I hope you had a nice Christmas and have a great New Year. if you're celebrating next Tuesday night, and we'll catch you again next week. From myself, Stephen George, good night.
Open your mind.